I am delighted to introduce you all to Esti and to Anna, whose bios I'll read to you in a second. They are the creator and the subject of this essential and really, really important movie, Women of Valor, that discusses something very, very relevant and very, very critical for us here in Israel, but also for women around the world and anybody working in social justice or for equality. And before I get into introducing our esteemed panelists, we're going to show you a trailer of the movie if you haven't already had a chance to watch it.
בסביבה שלי זה נתפס כרצון לצאת נגד הדת. חשבו שבאמת השתגעתי. אבל אני לא יכולה לשתוק יותר. יש פה קבוצה של 50% מהאוכלוסייה החרדית. היא צריכה להגיד כל הזמן שהכל בסדר. תמיד עם חיוך על הפנים וסיר על הגז, אבל לא בסדר. אין לנו אף אישה חרדית שיושבת סביב אף שולחן של מקבלי החלטות.
ואני מרגיש האמת שמישהו שולח אתכם לפרק את החברה הישראלית.
אישה חרדית שלא מתביישת, לצאת נגד כל גדולי ישראל שהיא טוענת שהיא חלק מהם.
ממתי נהייתי לא חרדית אמיתית? מהרגע שהתחלתי לדבר על הנושאים האלה.
לפני 100 שנה לא הייתה אף מדינה שאישה יכלה להצביע. וברוך השם,
נשים נאבקו על זה, הרבנים קמו בבוקר ונתנו לנשים זכות הצבעה.
אין בכלל לגיטימיות לשפוט הקול שלי.
הגיע הזמן שאישה חרדית תהיה בפנים.
טוב, תקשיבי, פעילות היא מתחת לרדאר.
אין שום נציג חרדי שמייצג אותנו. אני מדברת איתכם על שכר, אני מדברת על פגיעות מיניות, אני מדברת על דברים שהם קריטיים.
If haredi women dare to challenge the situation, they are exposed to threats and violence. We are here to complete the work of the suffragettes.
Allow me, ladies and gentlemen, to introduce our two panelists. I'm going to begin with Esti Shoshan. Esti is a Kharadi woman, mother of 4 children, and eldest of 12 brothers and sisters. She is the founder of the Lo Nivcharot, Lo Bocharot movement, which is Hebrew for not elected, not electing. The movement has been transformed into a non-profit organization where Esti has been serving as CEO under the name Nivcharot. She is a lecturer, a media persona, writer, artist, decorator, facilitator, content creator, and is currently working on a television show based on her personal story and first book of poetry. In 2017, Esti was awarded the Daphne London Ya'ari Award for Feminist and Social Activism. In 2018, one of the 21 most influential female activists in Israel by the Lady Globes magazine. 2019, the Rappaport Prize for groundbreaking feminist activism. And in 2020, one of the 20 most promising young Israelis of the next decade. Our wonderful filmmaker is Anna Samashak, who is a documentary filmmaker and producer, born in Moscow and immigrated to Tel Aviv. She has directed and produced a number of films, including award-winning documentaries for TV and international film festivals. Anna graduated with honors from the Sapir Film School and is also teaching documentary and research at the cinema department of Beit Ber College. Welcome to our wonderful panelists, Anna and Esti. And before I get into my questions and interrogation, I just want to remind you all that if you have any questions or have any comments, please share them in the chat section so that we can share with our panelists. I've got a lovely message from Michelle Vogel in the United Kingdom saying the most inspirational film, Kol HaKavod, and keep fighting. So I'm going to kick this off with the first question. And many of us have the perception of the Kharadi community as being secretive, kind of a hidden community. What made you want to document this particular story?
So first of all, good evening, everybody. I'm really, really excited. And when you read another country in another country, just it fills my heart to know that this story gets to all these places, because when we just started, it was about 5 years ago, and it was just a dream, and I'm happy to see that dreams come true. So so when I started, I had nothing in like, I never knew any ultra-Orthodox person closely. All I knew was from the media, from newspapers, and it's usually not the good stuff. And during my master's degree, I met Esti Lindolsky, and she introduced me to this world. And then I met Esti Shushan and the other courageous and amazing women, and I was just amazed how brave they are, how intelligent they are, how strong they are, because all you can see in the media is the ultra-Orthodox women being submissive and weak and silent. And these ladies are just, well, you saw the movie. So, and then I just got into their activities, and I just couldn't stop, because I understood this is history happening. This is the suffragette struggle all over again. And it is a story that touches me, even though I'm not religious.
And Esti, if you want to share your perspective, what prompted you to want to tell your story or allow it to be filmed?
I think just because, first of all, good evening for everybody. I'm really excited to be here and to meet so many women from all over the world. I think just because people used to think about the Haredi community as a closed place, as a secret place. We are human beings, and we have stories, and we have life, and we have a lot of things to share. And that's from my point as an artist, as a writer, from myself. We have stories, and I think this particular story is important because it gives to the world another perspective about the Haredi world, that, as Anna said, people used to see it just through the eyes of the media. It's an opportunity to break some stereotypes, to give another view, another perspective to my world, and especially to give another women the courage and the power to change the reality around them.
Now, this movie, as we go through the evening, and our guests will learn, has really empowered other women, and it is all about empowering women, especially from the Kharadi community. But it opens up with quite a frightening scene, and this is a scene of Kharadi women being followed and almost harassed as they put up posters for an election. What was the situation like for these women before you went on this journey? And just a reminder, ladies and gentlemen, if you do have comments and questions, please pop them in the chat.
So to be in this situation, it's something that can encourage you, because you feel like, I am in the action now, I'm doing something. The challenges, the difficulties is in the days that there is no field actions, that you are in your house and you have to deal with your activities, with the results of your activities, with what people around you said, and with the thoughts. What if even these activities will succeed someday? This thought, it's very, very hard to stay with, to wake up every morning and to ask myself if I had to keep doing these activities. So this is the main challenges, the situation when there is no camera, when there is no action activities, when you and your house with your family, and you have to pay the prices for your community and the people around you.
And Anna, your thoughts having to film that really, really hair-raising scene?
So actually, this scene was filmed before I joined these ladies, but yeah, I can say that I felt in a way during filming, it was usually a very small crew. Sometimes I filmed myself, sometimes I had my talented camera women with me, and in a way, it felt like the camera is also a part of the action, of the struggle. And sometimes it felt, even maybe Esti will say if she felt the same, but it felt like the camera gives them some power, because it makes them think that, okay, now we're doing something not only for this moment, not only for ourselves at this moment, but also for other people to watch it later. And I think that, as Esti said, the hardest moments are the in-between moments, are the moments when you have doubts, when people write you nasty things on Facebook. And I'm really fortunate that I got the chance also to show these moments, because it's not only being out there and being brave and strong, but it's also being able to show the weaknesses, the doubts, because we're all humans, and even the most brave and amazing people have these doubts. So I hope this will give also other people the strength that you don't always have to be strong.
I have a comment here from Irene saying, thank you for this excellent movie. This movie should be shown in all the communities around the world. And a question from Julie, who says, what foresight to start filming this so many years ago? Who gave you the idea to film Esti without knowing there would be a positive outcome? It's a really, really great question. And a reminder, everybody, if you do have your questions, pop them in the chat. We're going to take them to the panel.
So thank you, Julie, for this question. It's really hard as a documentary filmmaker when you do a film when you have the beginning, but you don't have the end. Right, so sometimes you have films about people who already died or about things that happened, but we were filming a lot. At some point, I think Esti and the other women weren't sure that there will be a film, because come on, how long can you film me? And you never know if the thing that happens now will turn into something else, or will it stay only in the same, will it have some kind of development, like a narrative development? So you always have to trust your gut feeling, and that's what I did. And I really had to pinch myself during the time I spent with them, because I really felt like it's history happening in front of my camera. And of course, the hardest part was later to try to start to edit and understand what's the part of the story and what has to stay out on the editing floor. And Tal Brog, the talented editor, really helped me with that. So it's a gut feeling. It's a belief that you're in the right place with the right women, and something will happen. I can tell that in one of the first meetings I had with Esti and Esti, they told me, okay, we understand why it's important to tell this story, but look, it's not going to be so interesting because mostly we just sit in rooms and we talk. So what will you show? And eventually my problem was the opposite, that I had to pick and take out many, many really interesting things. So, yeah.
Well, we're not just live on Zoom, we're also live on Facebook, and we have a question from Facebook Live from Dorota, who says, Esti, you are the hero. Hope you will be coming soon to the Knesset. Mm-hmm. Now, one of the most emotional scenes of this movie, and I think for a lot of us, especially for an organization like WIZO, who has campaigned from our very, very start as a movement and around the world for equal rights for women, you know, for many of the women watching, we are women that have survived fascism in South America. We are a movement that survived the Nazis in our history in Europe, for our South African women who survived apartheid. So the whole essence of working for equality and for the improvement of the status of women is something that's really been in our bones since we were started as a movement. And I know for me, and I'm sure for many, watching the scene of the women watching the movie about suffragettes was very emotional, but also very, very controversial. Why would something, watching a movie like that, be controversial? And why would some of the women not want to be seen on camera to be watching this?
I just want to tell you a story about the connection with the suffragettes. I remember when I started my activities, it's about 10 years, almost 10 years ago. Somebody wrote me in the Facebook, you know, you remind me the suffragettes. And I didn't know what this word mean, this weird word. So I made Google to understand what this woman mean when she said, I remind her the suffragettes. So when I read and understand the story and the history of women and fighting and struggling for the right of voting, I understand that I am part of this process to complete their job. But when I started, it was like something that was in my heart, in my mind, that I want to give out, to speak out to the people, to the women around me. And this really emotional scene of women watching the suffragette film, that was a part. It wasn't the only movie that we screened for Haredi women. We made it in some opportunities, and this moment that women can see problems or challenges of another women from another time, from another part of the world, it's a time for them to understand their challenges, to understand that their problem, their own personal problem, it's not a personal problem. It's something very big. It's something from like a system that they can change because something changed through the generations. The fact that this woman doesn't want to the camera, it's something from apart from the Kharadi women behavior. It's because the women not used to expose themselves, and it's very hard for women to expose themselves, especially when they are talking, when they are sharing something from their heart, something very personal. Today it's different. Today I see more and more women. You can see them, Haredi women in Instagram, influencer women in Instagram, in Twitter, in Facebook. But in those days it was like the part, the first moments that Haredi women understand that they have to speak. So that's what I have for this thing.
Yeah.
We have so many questions and comments coming in. I'm going to go to Anna.
Yeah, just add that I think that the scene I really love it because it shows how the power of cinema and how something that is it's not your story, but it can resonate for you, and it can be a window but also a mirror to your story. And that's why when in the end of the film they ask the ladies who cried, there is no everyone raised their hands, because it's something that it's really a part of their life, but it's also understanding that the personal is actually political. This is also why it was important for me to show Esti's personal story as well as the political struggle, because when you realize that you're not the only one who's facing those things.
And art is incredibly powerful.
Exactly, yeah.
We have a question from Henrik. Esti, what are the main values of Haredi women in society compared to modern Jewish women outside the Orthodox world? As far as I know, the rules of Haredi society are still written and controlled by men. You said that you are a Haredi woman, and by this I understand that you have to obey the rules of Haredi society. Is anything in women's position within the Kharadi community that you wish to change besides the right to vote or to be elected?
So first of all, it's very important to understand that there is no Haredi community or Haredi society. There are Haredi communities and Haredi societies, because there are a lot of differences between the communities, their values. Sometimes the gap between the values are more significant than the gap from the world outside. That's first of all. I cannot speak by the name of all the Haredi from all the communities, Haredi women, what their values. Of course, for now, the men and the rabbis control and give the rules to the society. But I can say that there are a lot of processes that change the situation from the field, because Haredi women are working, Haredi women are in the media, in the social media. And if you think that before anything, this Haredi woman go to ask the rabbi or ask any man what she should do, it's wrong, because a lot of women do what they want to do and still stay in the border of Haredi society or Haredi rules and everything. It's complicated to understand, because I can give you a full lecture about the differences between the Haredi groups. But today, and especially after years of working with women, I know that there are legitimate for women that want to speak, women that want their independency, women that want their husband to be a part, to collaborate with them in raising their children and family. It's not what happened in my mother's generation. So things always be in change. It's always a process. It's always progress. But I cannot say that there are rules that all of the Haredi women are going by these rules. You can see me and my friends, there are rules, and we broke a lot of rules, and we are still Haredi, and it's very important to us to be called and to be identified as Haredi women. It's something that we are brave on, and we still always check the borders and even make it wide and wider.
I think that borders are made by checking the border. Otherwise, there is no. You have to have something against in order to understand who you are. So
you have to have a boundary to push. In other words, to understand who you are better. And speaking of boundaries, during this movie, we see a partnership or an allyship with another very, very, well, at least to us, secretive community, one that we don't know too much about because we are in the middle of a conflict. And you find a very interesting ally in Palestinian women. Can you tell us how this came to be? What were some of the challenges, some of the successes moving forward with that?
So in this collaboration, there is a gap between the personal relationship than the public relationship, or what the public or the media will think about this collaboration. For me, it was very natural to sit with Palestinian women and to work together. We worked long before, some months before we traveled to Geneva to write the report for the committee in the UN. So for me, it was very natural. I feel that that Palestinian or Arab or Muslim women or any woman from traditional society can understand me better than secular women, because we are in the same, even we are from another cultures and another religions, we are dealing in the same issues. We are dealing with the patriarchy, with the control of men. And I think that for me, it was natural. It was very easy to connect and to work together. When we got to Geneva and we understood that maybe the media have the problem with that, maybe this collaboration, people will think that maybe it's a problem. We understand that it can be a problem, but for us it was like, I remember these two Palestinian women that worked with us, they wrote the report. It was the Ramadan, and they helped us so much, and we forgot the real differences between us. But the time that I sat in the committee in the UN, and against me was the state, the representative of my state, of Israel, it was a moment that I understand that, wow, Esti, you are in a big trouble, because I feel that I am against my state. I lost some friends after this adventure in the UN. But I think when you see this in a wide perspective, it's different. When you see the whole story and you understand the meaning of the story, I cannot regret about this. I don't regret.
We have a lovely comment here from Anna, who says, to grow, you need to push the boundaries from inside. If you push them from outside, it diminishes you. And we've got so many curious questions coming in, so I'm going to go through some of them. I've got one from over here, Michelle, who says, has this inspired a movement of all Israeli women to support this initiative? And has there been any change in the Haredi parties since this movie was made?
So we're still in the beginning of our journey with this film, where we had a premiere in the summer at the Jerusalem Film Festival, and then we had some other festivals around the country, and now we're starting our international festival. So the reactions we got until now were really amazing and really heartwarming. I mean, people, never mind if they're ultra-Orthodox or secular, they're really, really amazed and inspired by this. I think our main goal is to break down this boundary between them and us. If you ask me about the secular community or even the international community, because it's easy for us to say, okay, this is their problem. It's a small community. This is what the majority of people want, because still many women continue to vote for these parties, right? But I think it is our problem. It's not something that it's only in the hands. Of course, they have to lead this revolution, but we have to be there and support them and help them to tell their story and to be heard. Because me as an Israeli citizen, I think I am absolutely affected by the fact that there are 16 seats in the Knesset that have no women. It affects the public sphere. It affects the fact that women cannot be seen on ads sometimes in very religious places. So this is our goal, and this is why we're trying to get as many to as many communities and as many screenings and as many conversations.
Is there anything to add?
I can tell you from the side of Nivcharot what we are going to do after about 5 years of training women for leadership. The first group was with the WIZO organization here in Israel, and after we have some about 100 women that was trained and educated in our organization, there are more than 20 women, Kharadi women, that now send official requests to the Haredi parties and ask them to join the Haredi parties. If you remember the scene in the UN when I said that we need at least one woman that will knock the door and ask to join the parties. So after 5 years, and a lot of work, hard work, and a lot of prices, we have today more than 20 women that will do what we dream that will be. And this is something that really happened in these days with the lawyer Tamar Ben-Porat that lead the petition in the Supreme Court. And maybe it will be good news. It will be very interesting if you are following the media. And that's what we are going to do this year. And of course, more leadership groups that will come, and our community that always get wider and more women comes and feel legitimate to speak in this sphere that we made for them. So that for Nivcharot, we are not stopping.
I have another question coming in from Facebook. Very active Facebook viewers tonight. This is from Israel, who says, do you have support from the men in your families?
I think it's depends. There are men that support. There are men that at first, like my father, for example, at first it was very hard for him to understand me. But I remember after the first movie in Uvda, it's a TV show in Israel that exposed our story for the first time in the media. I think after he watched it, he was very proud and he understood better my work. I cannot say that it's easy for him. I know that he preferred that I will work in a regular, normal work, like all the normal women. But in the years, he understood and learned how to appreciate my work. And always when I'm before something very important, significant to do, I'm calling my father and ask him for blessing. My father is a rabbi, and I got his blessing. And for me, it's enough.
And Anna, your family, how have they responded to this kind of movie and the message that it is bringing out?
Yeah, so they heard a lot about it during the time I worked on it, but I come from a family of migrants from Russia, so it was also very different for them, another culture, they didn't know it all, and it was very, very interesting for them to see the film, to meet Esti, and of course, my personal man at home is very supportive, otherwise I couldn't do what I'm doing, so.
We have a comment here. Esti, your work is so important and inspirational for the next generation and for the future of Israel. Another comment coming in. I was really upset by the faint-heartedness of the chairwoman at the Geneva meeting. Do you know why she took such an unengaged position? That's a fascinating question. Why was she not engaged in what you were trying to present? And here you have Israeli women from a very marginalized sector of society, and you have Palestinian women working together to try and find a solution. You would think that the United Nations and certainly the chairwoman would be more engaged. Why do you think she wasn't so engaged?
Their engagement was in the report that they wrote some weeks after to the states, and for the first time the UN asked Israel to stop this situation in very clear words. The UN said, the committee said that this is a problem and the state should do something to deny the situation that there is no women in official parties in the Knesset. It's not only in the UN, it's also in the Supreme Court. We feel that they don't want to really to declare something very significant, because this is the democratic issue. If it's democratic to tell the parties how to behave. I remember one of the secular Haber Knesset told me, you know, it's not democratic what you are doing, because if there are parties that want no women in their places, you cannot tell them, the state cannot tell them to change this because it's not democratic. This is kind of responses that I got from people, not only Haredi people, also secular people. And I understand why the authorities of the state or the UN feel like they don't want to really engage in this situation. In addition, we see now, after the coronavirus crisis, after the disaster in Meron, we understand that the state really wants the Haredi community to stay in this place and It's like autonomy. We speak in the media in Israel, we speak a lot about the autonomy, the Haredi autonomy. It's like contract between the Haredi leaders and the state, give us the right to do what we want to do with our people, and keep silence. This is a problem. This is the main problem actually that we deal with, that the state and the authorities don't really want to involve and be part from these struggles. From it's like this is their problem, and they will deal with this. If you want, you can quit. You can. That's what I heard all the time.
I think it also has to do with having power, and it's not only the fact that this specific community. It's not only about the specific community. It's about the fact that it's very hard to change status of power. And when people have power, they don't want to let it go. And usually it's not only them who have the power, it's the environment that allows them to keep this power. And it's very convenient to say, okay, it's not our problem. Let them fix it.
We have a lovely comment from Kathy who says, I find it most inspiring and noteworthy that you have taken on this incredible task to give the women of your communities and others such an important voice without abandoning your community or showing them in a negative light. And a question from Michaya, she wants to know, is it only Haredi women, or also does it include Orthodox women who have this issue with being represented?
This issue is only in the Haredi parties, because in the religious parties there is a representation for women. It's something that they solved long before. It's only in the two parties, Shas and the Yadut Torah, and it's not only in the Knesset, it's also in municipal committees, in the religious committees. It's everywhere.
Well, we really have a very engaged audience tonight. There are so many questions and comments coming in, and my apologies to you if I don't get to all your questions and comments. We have a comment coming from France. I hope that this film will be showed over the world and in France with a translation. Will that be possible? I'm going to give that to the filmmaker to tell us if that's possible.
Yes, of course. We have a sales agent, distributor. Actually, she's in France, so we're working on it, of course. And we'd love to go we're all over the world, physically, if possible, but also this way is great.
Well, I've got another question coming in from Suzanne, the president of WIZO in Sweden. Back to the question, the issues of democracy, the Supreme Court. You know, I can understand why the Supreme Court don't want to get involved, because you have to separate the legislature and the judicial. It's a very important part of democracy. But a very important question, doesn't this make the state of Israel divided, partly democratic and partly theocratic, meaning religious?
It's a problem that it's not only with our issues. It's a problem. Israel is more democratic, more Jewish. It's a philosophic and or political questions that we can find it in a lot of issues in Israel. I don't know if there is a good answer for this, because sometimes I feel that we are democratic, but sometimes I feel that we are more Jewish country.
And I think fascinating. Also, it's important to say that the fact that there are so many groups in Israel that are they are actually having same issues, but they're not really feeling that they can work together, or they have to be careful. It's a big problem. That's what makes when people join forces, it's what makes them win and succeed. But sometimes it's really impossible to do it here. So that's one of the problems.
Here's a fascinating question, and because it's impacted all of our lives around the world and changed the way we do things, how, if any, difficulties did you meet because of the lockdowns and the pandemic? Did it affect filming in any way? Did it affect meetings in any way? Were you affected? Was your work affected by the global pandemic?
Actually, one of the main interviews in the film was filmed. I don't know if you remember this, Esti, but it was filmed just like the day before the first lockdown. And I remember we read about it on the newspaper, and we said, oh, maybe we can't be here together. It's maybe we're breaking the law.
Maybe we are going to die, all of us.
Yes. So it was, as everywhere, it was very uncertain and very, very frightening. But we did have, because we were filming for so long before the pandemic, we did had a lot of materials. So me and Tal Brock, the editor, we worked during lockdown. We created this crazy system of working on a computer from distance and talking on the phone, and it was very creative. And it helped us to move forward. And then after things calmed down a little bit, we could film the extra things that were missing.
Well, the final question before we wrap up for the evening, and that is, what is the direction from here? Where do we go from here? Where will you go with this movie as the filmmaker, and where will you, Esti, go with Nivcharot and lobbying for women to be represented?
Nivcharot, as I told you before, are going for a significant step on her existence. The fact that women, real women with their face, with their identity, with their names, are asking to join the parties. This was the part that was missing all the time, because the Supreme Court deal with the principle, not with a woman that wants to join to party and somebody tell her you cannot join because you are a woman. So now the Supreme Court, or the Supreme Court, will have to deal with women, not one, not two, more than 20 women that want to join the parties. And I don't know what the parties will do with this situation, but I think that they are in problem now. Of course, we are before our fifth group of Kharadi women leadership. We are giving them the legitimate place to speak and to share their experience. I am about 10 years in this journey. There is no Kharadi woman as I dreamed. There is no Kharadi woman now in the Knesset. But what we got in these activities, that there is a feminist Kharadi movement. There is a new identity of Kharadi feminist, and a lot of Kharadi women say, I am Kharadi feminist, or I am a feminist Kharadi. This is identity that make them to feel the power of, yes, I am Kharadi, and still I am feminist, and it's something that can make me or you to be confused how you can be a Kharadi and feminist. But for us, it's something that encourages us and give us the hope that some day we can see the change in the Knesset, we can see the change in the municipalities, we can see the change in our community, with our children, with our daughters. That's what we are dreaming.
Anna?
Yeah, so for me, films make an impact, films make a change, and this is what I want to do with this film. Not only for the ultra-Orthodox community, but also to show people around the world that this is the call for action, and if you have something that bothers you, that you don't think it's legitimate, you have to go out and fight for it. You don't get anything for granted. You don't get any fight made for you. So we're planning to now screen the film in festivals around the world. We're having a premiere, our first premiere in Atlanta Jewish Film Festival, and other festivals are coming. And of course, to get to as many communities outside, but also inside. My personal dream is also to screen the film to Kharadi youngsters and boys and girls. Because I also feel that this generation is changing and they have to see it. And you're more than welcome to join our Facebook page, Women of Valor, Eshet Chayil, and then you can see all the developments, all the impact we're making.
Well, thank you to these two extraordinary women of valor. Thank you for the incredible work that you are doing, something that we as WIZO women and mitzos around the world can be so incredibly proud of, and we certainly are here in Israel. Thank you for breaking down those barriers and for really pushing the boundaries to create a better society for all of us here in Israel. I want to thank all our participants on Facebook, on Zoom, from around the world for being a part of our very, very, very first Cinema WIZO. Thank you once again to Danny, to Jennifer, who's been manning the Facebook comments and questions. Thank you to Limon, to Shiraz, to everybody at the office who have made this all possible. I want to wish you all a good evening. Stay safe and healthy wherever you are, and hopefully we will be welcoming you to Israel as soon as possible, where we can give you a great big WIZO hug in person. Have a very, very good evening, and thank you once again to the phenomenal Esti Shoshan and their fantastic Anna Samashaf, two extraordinary women of valor.
And thank you, Rolin, for doing this.
Thank you, Rolin.
So enjoyable. And
thank you, Danny. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, WIZO. And it was my pleasure to be here tonight and in the morning.